So it's said that we have nearly 60,000 thoughts running through our head each day, but nearly most of them are dragging us all down. Research has shown at least 75% of our thoughts are negative, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to show you how to reframe those thoughts, like pulling the weeds up out of the garden of your mind to make room for some more empowering thoughts. Also, throughout this video, I'm going to share you 3 easy physical tips too that you can utilize to enable to help with those negative thoughts. And the third one is personally my favorite, and you might see why. Plus, I have a bonus thought waiting for you at the end, so you might want to stick around. And if you're impatient and this is not a ploy to get you to watch our way to the end, especially nowadays, there's a timestamp. You can click this timestamp. You can go right to the bonus if you'd like. Imagine being able to rewire the negative stories you tell yourself. Reframing your thoughts gives you that power. By learning this transformational skill, you can break free from the grips of that negative thinking, reducing anxiety and depression, and creating a more empowering future. Now, I have a question for you. Do you know what the number one most common negative thought is? All right, I'll give you the answer if you probably already haven't figured it out. It's, I'm not good enough. And I'll be honest with you here, it used to be a constant thought for myself. It was almost like my brain was on a default program with it. If I didn't get something or someone left, automatically, boom, I'm not good enough. And it's likely to connect with childhood experience and the meaning that was given to an event or a situation. As for example, for myself, I started believing this when my mother had left, and I had thought, and the meaning I'd put behind that was, I'm not good enough. And then that became my go to explanation for everything. It was just, I'm not good enough. Now, your story might be different or similar, but at the end of it, we all end up coming to that same conclusion of, I'm not good enough. The I'm not good enough sets you up for failure, reinforcing the negative feelings and prevents you from living a full and meaningful life. Also, the I'm not good enough belief can start to become a self fulfilling prophecy. Recognizing this pattern and actively working through it and reframing it is critical from breaking free again from those negative thought patterns. And as I was sharing before, we all have and get these weeds in our mind garden. And I'm actually pretty fond of Bruce Lee's quote in regards to that. Don't allow negative thoughts to enter your mind, for they are weeds that strangle confidence. Even appreciated that quote so much, I had actually had put it in my gratitude and intention journal. You're looking to cultivate more gratitude and set powerful intentions and unlock your best self in just 8 minutes for the next 15 weeks. I highly recommend grabbing one and maybe one for your friend too. So, these negative thoughts can be incredibly damaging to your mental health. But not to go too much into a rabbit hole here, your negative thoughts could also have a negative effect on your physical well being. But here's the great news, we can change that. But understanding the psychology of negative thoughts or negative thinking. You can learn how to reframe them in a more empowering and encouraging way. And I will say the psychology behind it is pretty fascinating. Our brains are wired to respond to threats, whether they're real or not. And let me use my dog here as an example. His name is Rebel. I'll share a picture right here. So, Rebel, he will bark anytime somebody comes to the door, whether it's just my Instacart driver or a possible intruder. His instinct is wired for protection, regardless of actual danger or not. This means that when we have a negative thought that we hold on to, your brain goes into that fight or flight or freeze mode, releasing those stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. But what if I can show you how to rewire your brain to respond differently to those negative thoughts and be able to see them as opportunities for growth and learning rather than a threat? And you might be thinking,
Alright, easier said than done.
and my response would be, yes, it is a challenge, but it is doable. Okay, so tip one, really quick, before I jump into that reframe, look up. When you're looking up, you're going to look up with your neck and your eyes too. And this can help in a few ways. One, the part of looking up, because a lot of times when you're kind of down and out and, you're kind of slumped over and looking down, where this, you're looking up and your eyes are looking up too, brings your physical body into a more empowered state. And then the other thing is when you're looking up, it also opens your lungs up more so you can take in more oxygen. So with looking up with your eyes can possibly trigger positive emotions by activating some visual memories. Okay, here's that simple reframe. When you have that negative thought, you can reframe it by using this framework I'm going to share with you. And how you're going to remember this framework. And I am huge on acronyms. Chuckled because earlier I said analogies, and I'm obviously just cut that out of the video so you didn't even see it, but I'm saying it. So there you go. So when those negative thoughts dominate your mind, think Rita. And I'm going to rewind the clock here a little bit for y'all. Think of Rita Repulsa from the Power Rangers. She was that evil queen that always sends out those big old evil monsters. So, yeah, how you're going to tackle the evil monster? Use Rita. So, the first R in Rita is recognize. This is a crucial first step so you can do something about that thought. Second, the I in Rita, inquiry. So you're going to actually have three questions. And the way to remember the three questions is toe. So now we got Rita and her toe. And then toe is going to help conquer that negative beast. So the first question, the T. And we'll use the example of I'm not good enough. Is this 100% true? Then the O, you're going to ask, what is the opposite of this? So the opposite of I'm not good enough. And then the E, what evidence could I find to support that statement? So toe, true, opposite, evidence. Remember too, this stuff only works if you do the work. And if you're there like, oh, I got it, no worries. Remember, the mother of all skill is repetition, and the father is consistency. The T is think. Take a moment to really think about those questions. Now, finally, the A in Rita is answer. So you're going to go ahead and answer those three questions, and remember the three questions from the toe: true, opposite evidence. So is this 100% true? What is the opposite? And finally, what is the evidence to support? What is the evidence to support that statement? And how can you figure out what you can use for evidence? And I'm going to give you some guidance here. You can use some past achievements, some positive feedback, either that you've received from a friend, your partner, a family member, a coworker, and then depending on your faith or what you believe in, you could even use scripture to give you evidence of support. Like Isaiah 43:4, you are precious to me, you are honored. Or also to, in the words of the late great Wayne Dyer, you are a divine creature, a piece of God. Therefore, you cannot not be good enough. And I'm actually a bit paraphrasing here. He actually had said, therefore, you cannot be undeserving. And I'll link his book here. And if you already have the book, it's actually on page 62. By asking ourselves these questions, we can start to reframe those negative thoughts in a way that, again, is more encouraging and empowering. Okay, tip number 2, take a walk, and if possible, in nature. That change of environment can help with that internal dialogue, dialing it down a notch to help reduce some stress. Then when you're outside and the sun happens to be out, even if it's hiding behind clouds, the sun is still out. So you are still getting a boost to your serotonin levels. And that helps with feeling more positive and less anxious. Now, I like to give you some empowering statements that you could use to help support you as well. For example, if you are thinking, I'm not good enough, a way to restate it is by saying, I'm doing my best, and that's something to be proud of. So again, I'm not good enough pops up. You go ahead and say, I am doing my best, and that is something to be proud of. Or if this thought comes through, I'll never be able to do this, you can restate it by saying, I'll learn and grow from this experience, and I'll come out stronger on the other side. So remember, if you go to, I'll never be able to do this, use, I'll learn and grow from this experience, and I'll come out stronger on the other side. By reframing and restating your negative thoughts, you can literally change your mindset and your life for the better. And also, what I'll do is I'm going to share the framework and those statements, and I'm going to add a couple of other statements to a free PDF, and I'll put the link in the comments and descriptions below for you. A few years ago, I was dealing with increasing physical limitations, and my body was starting to give out on me. So I had felt. I underwent a series of tests and different medications, and one of those medications was one of my biggest fears was using a needle. It literally took me all day and getting physically ill before I finally stuck myself with the needle and moved forward. So I share this with you because all of this had started to contribute to me going into a deep depression. I felt like I was losing my freedom. After I had finally regained it back from being in a wheelchair, I withdrew completely, stepped away from social media to rebuild myself. Then I discovered and started to practice reframing, which completely transformed my perspective on things. I started seeing negative thoughts not as the threat, but as an opportunity for me to grow and learn by improving how I viewed things. I started to feel more certain and empowered. Like a switch just went off, and I was no longer in the passenger seat of my life. I was in the driver's seat. And I share this with you to show you how powerful reframing can be. All right, tip number 3, jumping on a rebounder. Now, a little bonus here, throw on some empowering music. One of my go tos is Radioactive. One of my go to songs is Radioactive by, and I say their name incorrectly, but it's super close. I call them the Imaginary Dragons. Sorry. Go ahead, crank that on, and you jump on that rebounder, and bam, what do you know? When you're jumping on that rebounder, it's increasing your endorphins. That's that feel good hormones, which basically helps counteract the sadness, anxiety, and stress associated with the negative thoughts. And what I'll do too is I'll even share a link of the rebounder I personally use, and it's super cool because it actually folds up and it has bungee instead of those like springs. Because I don't know if you've ever jumped on a rebounder and hit your foot on the springs versus a bungee. It's much better, and you can fold it up. And now you might see, if you're still here with me, why number 3 is one of my personal favorites. And that bonus, and I like to call this bonus food for thought. Food can affect your mood and your thoughts. And I'm going to share with you the 3 top main reasons. 1, missing nutrients. Not getting enough vitamins and minerals, and vitamins like vitamin B, vitamin D, the omega 3s, and iron can mess with your brain's chemistry and lead to the negative thoughts and the negative thinking, bad moods, and even depression. Second, sugars, highs, and lows. Eating a lot of sugars and processed foods makes your blood sugar spike and crash, causing mood swings, irritability, trouble focusing, which makes it harder to control those negative thoughts. Third, your gut health. Your gut and your brain talk to each other. A bad diet, or as I like to call it, eating lifestyle, can mess up the good bacteria in your gut, which can affect your mood, leading to the negative thoughts. And you might be wondering now how I've come to know so much about this kind of stuff. For nearly 15 years now, I have been living with an autoimmune condition, managing it through a lifestyle changes and including the food I do and don't eat. This firsthand experience has given me a unique understanding about the powerful link between the body and food. Reframing negative thoughts is a powerful tool that can help you transform your life in so many ways. Now that you've learned how to reframe those negative thoughts to help you get out of that vicious cycle, you can learn to see yourself and the world in a more encouraging and and powerful way. And that's why it's so important to have reframing a part of your daily life. So remember Rita, and then when you get to the I, you're going to use the toe, thoughts, opposite, evidence. Then you have those 3 physical activities that you could use: looking up, going for a walk, or jumping on a rebounder. And crank up that music. And then finally, that bonus, that food for thought. And maybe take the day today or tomorrow to look at what you're eating or not eating and make some adjustments. Reframing your negative thoughts unlocks lasting overall well being. Now, keep empowering that mindset because your potential is limitless. And something else, too, that can help with negative thoughts: affirmations. Affirmations can help reprogram your subconscious mind and take it to the next level. So go ahead and check out this video next on affirmations. And if it's not showing up for you, then YouTube might be suggesting that this one might serve you best.